You people disgust me, always late, always whining, always making excuses. The slap cracks across Shanice's face. The diner goes silent. A white manager just struck a black server in front of 20 customers. Patricia grabs Shanice's wrist, twisting hard. Tip jar had $70. Now it's 40. Where's my money? I didn't take. Liar. Patricia shoves her into the counter. One call and your girls go to foster care today. Shanice's 6-year-old watches her mama start crying. Please, my babies. Patricia leans close. Close at midnight tonight. Open at 4 tomorrow morning. Move before I call the cops. Shanice stumbles to the kitchen, wiping tears. Nobody helps. The black man in the corner booth, the one Patricia walked past 3 times without looking quietly, adjusts his phone. He's been recording for 15 minutes. Every slap, every threat, every single word. And what he does in the next 60 seconds will destroy everything Patricia thinks she controls. Some people make fatal mistakes. They forget to notice who's watching. 2 days before Harrison Turner watched his manager slap an employee, he was in a Frankfurt hotel room at 2 a.m., staring at his phone. The screen showed his daughter Zara holding a blue ribbon at her science fair. Timestamp, 3 hours ago, Detroit time. He'd missed it. Again. Harrison swiped to another photo. 9 years old. New Dawn Diner's grand opening. His mother beside him in her Sunday dress, smiling so wide her whole face glowed. 3 months after that photo was taken, she was dead. Heart attack, while serving breakfast at a homeless shelter on a freezing January morning. The doctors said she'd been having chest pains for weeks but kept working. Too busy feeding people who had nothing. She was 61 years old. Harrison remembered her last words in that hospital room, her hand gripping his so tight it hurt. Baby, when you feed people, you feed them with dignity. You promise me that. He'd built New Dawn on that promise. Detroit, the city that raised him, the city that collapsed in 2008 and never fully recovered. Harrison watched his neighbors lose jobs, lose houses, lose hope. I watched good people become invisible overnight because one mistake, one bad break, one felony conviction meant nobody would hire them anymore. New Dawn became his answer to a question nobody was asking. He hired the people nobody else wanted. Former inmates fresh off parole, single mothers with resume gaps and childcare struggles, people rebuilding their lives from absolute zero, one shift at a time. The local news loved it. Then the business journals noticed. Then the speaking invitations started flooding in conferences, workshops, keynotes from Boston to Berlin about conscious capitalism and doing well by doing good. Harrison became the face of second chance hiring. The entrepreneur who proved you could build a profitable business while actually changing lives. But success demanded a price he hadn't anticipated. More speeches meant more time away from Detroit, away from Zara, away from the diner, away from the people he'd promised to protect. But he told himself it was fine because he had Patricia running things. Patricia Vance walked into New Dawn 9 years ago carrying everything she owned in 2 garbage bags. Homeless for 8 months after a felony check fraud conviction killed every job application she submitted. Harrison hired her to wash dishes. She showed up early every shift, stayed late to help close, learned the business from the ground up, prep work, inventory, customer service, bookkeeping. 2 years later, he promoted her to shift supervisor. She cried in his office, "Nobody ever believed in me before. I won't let you down. I promise." 2 years after that, he made her operations manager. She'd earned it, ran efficient shifts, managed costs ruthlessly. When Harrison started traveling for speaking engagements, Patricia stepped up without being asked. His phone lit up with her latest email. Subject: all green. Stay longer. Everything's running smoothly. Revenue steady. Costs controlled. Team's great. Take another week in Europe if you want. We've got this. So why was Harrison's stomach twisting into knots? His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Check your people. The 5th text like this in 2 weeks. Always different blocked numbers. Always the same 3-word message. He tried calling back. Number disconnected. Another email from Marcus, his accountant, was sent 4 days ago with a red flag. Urgent. Labor costs up 18% in 6 months, but revenue's flat. Either someone's stealing or payroll's broken. Look at this now. Harrison had meant to follow up. But then Berlin happened. Amsterdam. Frankfurt and 400 business leaders giving him a standing ovation. Meanwhile, back in Detroit, what was actually happening? He pulled up employee retention data. 6 months ago, 12% annual turnover, industry standard. Now, 41%. 4 out of every 10 employees had left in half a year. Patricia's explanation in her weekly reports: normal churn, personal reasons, better opportunities. 41% wasn't normal. It was hemorrhaging. Another text arrived. Check your people, before it's too late. Someone was desperately trying to tell him something. Someone too terrified to use their real name. Harrison made a decision, opened his laptop, booked a red-eye flight to Detroit. He wouldn't tell Patricia, wouldn't warn anyone. He'd show up and see what happened when nobody knew he was watching. He pulled a card from his wallet, faded yellow. His mother's handwriting, her French toast recipe. At the bottom, feed people with dignity. If someone was destroying that promise, he needed to see it himself. He texted Patricia, conference extended 3 weeks, London next, are you good? 10 seconds later, always boss, don't worry about anything. Harrison stared at those words. For the first time in 4 years, they didn't reassure him. They terrified him. Harrison's flight landed in Detroit at 6:42 a.m. He didn't go home, didn't stop at his daughter's place. Drove straight to a budget inn 3 blocks from the diner and checked in under a fake name. Room 217. Bare walls, thin carpet, a window overlooking the parking lot. He spread papers across the bed. Bank statements, payroll records, employee files his accountant had sent overnight. The numbers told a story if you knew how to read them. Average weekly payroll 6 months ago, $8,200. Current average, $9,680. That's $1,480 more every single week. Over 6 months, that's an extra $38,480 in labor costs. But revenue hadn't grown. Customer counts stayed flat. Menu prices unchanged. So where was that money going? Harrison cross-referenced the payroll reports Patricia submitted with the scheduling boards she emailed him weekly. Every employee showed exactly 40 hours, no overtime, clean records, too clean. He remembered Daniel Baker, the kid he'd hired 2 years ago fresh off parole. Talented line cook who used to work 55, 60-hour weeks because he loved the work. He'd told Harrison his dream was culinary school. Why would Daniel suddenly cap himself at 40? Harrison pulled up the digital schedule Patricia had sent last week. Daniel Baker, Monday through Friday, 8-hour shifts, exactly 40 hours total. But then, his phone buzzed. Unknown number, a photo attachment. Harrison opened it. The physical scheduling board inside New Dawn's kitchen. Not the digital version Patricia sent him, the real one. He zoomed in. Daniel Baker, Monday 10 p.m., Tuesday 10 p.m., Wednesday 10 p.m., Thursday 10 p.m., Friday 6 p.m., Saturday 10 p.m. 56 hours, not 40. Shanitz Brooks, Monday close 11 p.m., Tuesday open 5 a.m., Wednesday close 11 p.m., Thursday open 5 a.m., Friday close 11 p.m., Saturday 12 p.m. 8 p.m., Sunday 12 p.m. 8 p.m. Close open, close open, close open. Barely 6 hours between shifts for sleep. Harrison's hands started shaking. Someone was working them to exhaustion and only paying them for 40 hours. Someone was stealing their wages, stealing their sleep, stealing their lives. He typed a response. Who are you? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Someone who believes in second chances. For real. Come to the diner tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., corner booth. Order toast. Watch the office door. You'll see everything. Tell me your name. Not yet. But she threatened to call immigration on my sister. Said you'd believe her over me. I was scared, but somebody has to stop her. She, Patricia. Harrison's chest felt like it was caving in. The woman he'd saved from homelessness. The woman he'd trusted with everything. The woman he'd believed in when nobody else would. She was destroying people. Why didn't you tell me sooner? The response took a full minute. She knows everything about everyone. She knows my sister's undocumented. She showed me the ICE tip line on her phone, just pulled it up in front of me and smiled. 1 call and Rosa's deported. What was I supposed to do? Harrison stared at the message until his eyes burned. What's your name? but the number was already disconnected. He looked at the clock. 11:49 p.m. In 7 hours and 13 minutes, he'd walk into his own diner as a stranger. Harrison pulled items from his bag, a faded Detroit Tigers baseball cap, his oldest jacket with a coffee stain on the sleeve. Prescription sunglasses he never wore. He'd walk in, sit in that corner booth, order toast, and he'd finally see what happened when he wasn't watching. His phone buzzed one more time. Different number. "Thank you for coming home, Mr. Turner. They needed you here." Harrison typed back. "Who is this?" No response. He set his alarm for 6 a.m. Sleep came in shallow waves. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his mother's face in that hospital bed. I heard her voice. "Feed people with dignity, baby. Promise me." He'd made a promise. Tomorrow morning, he'd find out if he'd kept it, or if he'd been funding a nightmare while he collected standing ovations 6,000 miles away. Harrison touched the recipe card on the nightstand. His mother's handwriting blurred through tears. He didn't know he was crying. Feed people with dignity. Tomorrow, he'd see what dignity looked like in the diner that bore her name, and God help whoever had turned it into something else. Harrison Turner walked into New Dawn Diner at 6:58 a.m. wearing a disguise that made him invisible. The baseball cap pulled low over his eyes, faded jacket with a coffee stain on the sleeve, sunglasses even though the sun hadn't fully risen, just another tired customer grabbing breakfast before work. The bell above the door chimed. That sound used to mean home. Now it meant something else entirely. The diner was half full, construction workers at the big table near the window, a couple of nurses still in scrubs from the night shift. Early commuters hunched over coffee and phones. Nobody looked up when Harrison entered. The smell hit him immediately. Coffee, bacon grease, toast. But something was missing. The cinnamon. Where was the smell of cinnamon from his mother's famous French toast? Harrison slid into the corner booth. The vinyl squeaked under his weight. From here, he had a clear line of sight to the kitchen, the counter, and Patricia's office door. A server approached. Shanice Brooks. Her employee file said she was 29, but she looked 40. Dark circles carved shadows under her eyes like bruises that wouldn't heal. Her hands gripped the order pad so tight her knuckles went white. "Morning," she said. Her voice was flat. Professional autopilot. "Coffee? Please. And wheat toast. Butter on the side." She wrote it down. Her hand trembled, just slightly. The pen tip stuttered across the paper. "Coming right up." Harrison watched her walk to the coffee station, watched her pour with hands that shook just enough to slosh liquid over the rim of the cup. She wiped the saucer quickly, efficiently, the muscle memory of someone who'd cleaned up small mistakes 1,000 times. She brought his coffee, set it down carefully. "Toast'll be right out." "Thank you." She almost smiled. Didn't quite make it. Just a brief softening around her mouth before the professional mask locked back into place. From the kitchen, the ticket printer buzzed. Orders backing up. Harrison checked his watch. 7:03 a.m. The morning rush is starting to build. Then Patricia emerged from her office. She looked sharp, professional. Navy blazer over a white blouse, hair pulled back tight, clipboard in hand. She scanned the dining room with eyes that missed nothing. Her gaze passed over Harrison without pausing. He was nobody, just another customer. Patricia walked to the counter where Shanice was refilling a coffee pot. "Shanice, front, now." Shanice's shoulders tensed. She set down the pot and hurried over, wiping her hands on her apron. "Yes, ma'am?" Patricia's voice was low, but the booth's acoustics carried it perfectly. Harrison had built this place. He knew every sound pocket, every echo. "We need to talk. Office." "Yes, ma'am. Let me just—" "Now, Shanice." They disappeared into the office. The door swung half shut but didn't latch. Harrison shifted in his seat. Through the gap, he could see Shanice standing, Patricia sitting behind the desk. The power dynamic was crystal clear. Patricia's voice drifted out. "Pleasant, controlled, poisonous. You're closing tonight at 11 and opening tomorrow at 4 a.m. 5 hours between shifts. And Shanice? Your daughter's school called here again. Something about lunch money. They said you haven't paid in 3 weeks." Shanice's response was too quiet to hear, but Harrison saw her body language, saw her fold inward like she was trying to disappear. Patricia continued, her voice sweet as antifreeze. Maybe if you managed your time better, you wouldn't have these problems. She leaned forward. I'm docking today's pay by 2 hours for yesterday's tardiness. And if I hear one more complaint from that school, we'll discuss whether this job fits someone with your situation. Harrison's coffee mug stopped halfway to his mouth. Through the gap, he saw Shanice's face. The exact moment her spirit broke, her voice came out barely louder than breath. Yes, ma'am. 2 words, so quiet most people would miss them. But Harrison heard them clearly. Those 2 words, that whisper of complete defeat, stopped his blood cold. That was the sound of his mother's promise being shattered, dignity being destroyed. Someone who'd said, yes, ma'am, so many times it became an automatic surrender. Patricia stood, patted Shanice's shoulder. I know it's hard, but Mr. Turner built this place for people willing to work hard. You do appreciate your second chance, don't you? Yes, ma'am. Good. Get back to work. Shanice walked out, eyes red but dry. She'd learned not to cry where Patricia could see. Harrison's hands clenched around the mug. This was the whisper. This was what happened when he wasn't watching. And he'd been gone for 18 months. Harrison's toast arrived 5 minutes later. Daniel Baker brought it. Early 20s, lean and muscular, with tattoos running up both forearms and burn scars on his hands from years of kitchen work. Harrison recognized him from the hiring photo 2 years ago. Wheat toast, butter on the side. Daniel set down the plate. Anything else I can get you? This looks great. Hey, you make the French toast here? Daniel's face flickered. Pride mixed with something else. Resignation, maybe. Yeah, when we got the ingredients for it. The kitchen's been running pretty lean lately. I heard this place used to be famous for French toast. The owner's mother had some special recipe? Daniel glanced toward Patricia's office, lowered his voice. We don't use that recipe anymore. The manager changed suppliers about 6 months ago. Cheaper bread, margarine instead of butter, no cinnamon. He shrugged. Saves money, she says. Not my call. Harrison felt something crack inside his chest. His mother's recipe. The one single thing he'd asked Patricia to protect. Changed. For profit margins. Thanks, Harrison managed. Daniel nodded and headed back to the kitchen. Harrison bit into the toast. Dry. Flavorless. Wrong. He pulled the small recipe card from his jacket pocket. Looked at it under the table. His mother's cursive handwriting. Thick-cut challah bread, real butter, cinnamon, vanilla extract, pinch of nutmeg. Feed people with dignity. This toast had no dignity. Just cost-cutting dressed up as breakfast. At the counter, Patricia was counting the tip jar. Harrison watched her count bills, write a number in a small notebook, then pocket 3 20s before writing a different number in the official logbook. $60. Just gone. A customer at table 4 left a $5 bill under their plate and walked out. Shanice cleared the table, saw the tip, pocketed it as she headed to the kitchen. Patricia materialized beside her. Did table 4 leave anything? Shanice's face went carefully blank. $5, ma'am. Tip pool, Shanice. You know the rules. Shanice pulled the crumpled bill from her apron and handed it over. Patricia smiled. See? Teamwork. She walked away. Harrison watched her add that 5 to the pile she'd skimmed, stealing from people who made $2.35 an hour before tips. The door opened. Daniel walked in, saw Patricia, and his whole body went rigid. Patricia smiled. Daniel, come here, please. The line cook emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. Yes, ma'am? Your paycheck last week? You wanted to discuss it? Daniel glanced around. 20 people watching. Could we maybe talk in the office? No need. You worked 40 hours. You got paid for 40 hours. Is there a problem? Daniel's jaw clenched. The schedule showed me at 52 hours, ma'am. I thought maybe there was a mistake in payroll. Patricia's eyebrows rose. The time clock showed 40 hours, Daniel. Are you saying the time clock is wrong? No, ma'am, I just thought. Because if you're saying the time clock is wrong, we'll need to investigate. Pull all your hours for the past 6 months, including that week you called in sick but I saw you posted photos from Cedar Point. Her smile was nice. Do you want me to review everything, Daniel? Or do you trust that the time clock is accurate? Daniel's face went pale. The time clock is accurate, ma'am. Good. And Daniel? Your parole officer called yesterday. Told him you were doing great here, reliable, trustworthy. She paused. I'd hate to have to change that assessment. Daniel's hands curled into fists. He forced them open. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Back to work. Daniel retreated to the kitchen. Harrison's vision blurred. Patricia wasn't just stealing wages. She was building a prison, using people's pasts, their parole officers, their criminal records as bars and chains. The door chimed. A little girl walked in, 6 years old, worn backpack hanging off thin shoulders, pink jacket with a missing button. She spotted Shanice. Mommy! Shanice spun. Her face went from exhausted to terrified. Amara? Baby, what are you doing here? You forgot to leave lunch money. Mrs. Patterson said I should come find you before school. Patricia appeared. Shanice? Is this your daughter? Yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry. Your child is in the restaurant, during business hours, during the breakfast rush. This is a workplace, Shanice, not a daycare. I know, ma'am. I just forgot money this morning. You're always running late. And now your personal life is interfering with your professional responsibilities. Shanice knelt down fast, fumbled with her apron pocket, pulled out her wallet. Harrison watched her count what was inside. $6. That was it. She pulled out all 6 and pressed them into her daughter's hands. Here, baby. Get lunch today and tomorrow. Mommy will bring more on Friday, okay? But Mommy, what about your lunch? I'm fine, sweetheart. I'll eat here. A lie. Go to school now. Be good. I love you. Amara hugged her mother's neck. Shanice held her for exactly 3 seconds. Then she gently pushed her away. Go on now. You'll be late. Amara left. Shanice stood, stared at the empty wallet in her hands. Patricia leaned in close, whispered, Get it together, Shanice, or I'll document this as another incident of instability. And we both know your caseworker is watching. Yes, ma'am. Harrison watched Shanice walk to the bathroom. His phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. Mr. Turner? Table 12. I know it's you. We need to talk. A woman at table 12 was staring at him. Dark hair, early 30s, wearing a New Dawn apron. Monica Rodriguez. She stood. I walked toward the back hallway, glanced over her shoulder. Harrison left cash on the table and followed. The back hallway was narrow, smelled like bleach and old grease. Monica stood by the emergency exit. You're him, she said quietly. You're Harrison Turner. Not a question. How did you know? I've seen your picture in the office. And you've been sitting in that booth for 45 minutes watching everything? You're the one who's been getting the texts, aren't you? Harrison nodded. That was you? Monica's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry I didn't use my name. I'm sorry I waited so long. But she threatened me. She threatened my sister. Tell me. My sister Rosa lives with me. She's undocumented. Patricia found out 6 months ago. She pulled up the ICE tip line on her phone. Right in front of me. Just showed it to me and smiled. Said one call and Rosa would be deported within 48 hours. How long has Patricia been doing this to you? 14 months. Since you started traveling more. At first it was small. An hour here, an hour there. But it got worse. Monica pulled out her phone, showed Harrison a screenshot. She sells our information to payday loan companies. $50 per name. I got 12 calls last week from places I never contacted. Harrison stared at the image. A spreadsheet. Employee names. Phone numbers. Addresses. A column labeled referral fee. $50. It's not just me, Monica said. It's everyone. Shanice, Daniel, all of us. She knows everything about everybody. And she uses it. Every single day. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because you were never here. 2 employees tried calling you 6 months ago. Patricia found out. One got fired the next day for stealing. The other had hours cut from 40 to 12. Both quit within a week. How many hours did you work last week? 54. How many did you get paid for? 40. And Shanice? 68 hours, paid for 40. Close open shifts for 3 weeks straight. 5 hours of sleep between shifts. Monica's voice broke. I found her crying in the walk-in freezer last week. Harrison's hands started shaking. I need to see Patricia's office. Monica pulled a key from her pocket. I made a copy of her desk key 6 months ago. Been too scared to use it. She pressed it into his palm. Bottom drawer. 2 sets of time cards. Ledger with everything. When? Tonight, after close. I'll let you in through the back. She'll know. I don't care anymore. Somebody has to stop her. And you're the only person who can. Shanice emerged from the bathroom, saw them talking. Her eyes went wide. Monica grabbed Harrison's arm. Go, now, before Patricia sees. Harrison walked back through the dining room, put on his sunglasses, pulled his cap lower. Patricia was at the register. She didn't even glance his way. He pushed through the door. Outside, the morning sun felt too bright. The street is too normal. Harrison sat in his car for 10 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel. Mother's recipe card on the dashboard. Feed people with dignity. He'd made a promise, and he'd broken it by being absent. But tonight, he was getting proof. Tonight, he was getting evidence. And tomorrow morning, Patricia Vance was going to learn what happened when you turned someone's legacy into a nightmare. 18 hours until Monica let him into that office. 18 hours until he saw exactly how deep this went. And then Patricia would answer for every stolen dollar, every broken spirit, every whispered, "Yes, ma'am." Every single one. The diner closed at 11 p.m. Harrison waited in his car 3 blocks away until his phone buzzed at 11:43 p.m. Monica's text. Back door. Now. He drove around to the alley behind New Dawn. The streetlight above the dumpster had burned out months ago. Monica stood in the shadows by the emergency exit, the door propped open with a brick. She left 10 minutes ago, Monica whispered. We got maybe 30 minutes before the overnight cleaning crew shows up. Harrison followed her inside. The kitchen was dark except for the red glow of emergency exit signs. The smell of grease and old coffee hung in the air. Monica led him to Patricia's office. The door was locked. She pulled out the copied key. Bottom drawer of the desk, she said. That's where she keeps everything. The key turned. The lock clicked. Harrison sat down at the desk. Pull open the bottom drawer. 2 stacks of time cards, one labeled payroll, one labeled actual. He grabbed both stacks, set them side by side. Shanice Brooks, payroll, 40 hours, actual, 68 hours, 28 hours stolen. Monica Rodriguez, payroll, 40 hours, actual, 54 hours, 14 hours stolen. Daniel Baker, payroll, 40 hours, actual, 52 hours, 12 hours stolen, card after card, every single employee, 2 sets. The difference, 20 to 30 hours per person per week, just vanished into Patricia's pocket. Harrison pulled out his phone, started photographing everything. There's more, Monica said quietly. She reached into the drawer and pulled out a black composition notebook. Harrison opened it. Patricia's handwriting. Every page is a record. Every theft is documented. Week of March 3 to 9. Shanice Brooks, 68 hours worked, 40 paid. Profit, $420. Leverage, bench warrant, parking tickets, caseworker monitoring custody. Monica Rodriguez, 54 hours worked, 40 paid. Profit, $294. Leverage, Sister Rosa, undocumented. Daniel Baker, 52 hours worked, 40 paid. Profit, $240. Leverage, parole officer. He flipped through the pages. 18 months of entries, week after week. 14 employees. Average theft is about $300 per week. 18 months. Over $300,000 stolen. But it wasn't just money. She'd created a system of terror. Used people's deepest fears, deportation, arrest, losing their children as insurance against exposure. Monica reached into the drawer again, pulled out a folder labeled CYA, cover your ass. Inside, forged documents, employee signatures on forms they'd never signed, fake complaints backdated to create paper trails. At the bottom of the folder, a document that made Harrison's blood run cold. A draft complaint, sexual harassment allegation against Harrison Turner, dated 2 weeks ago. Forged signature at the bottom, Shanice Brooks. Patricia had been planning to destroy him. If he ever found out what she was doing, she had this ready. Harrison photographed everything, every page, every document, every time card. There's something else, Monica said. She turned to Patricia's computer, typed in a password. How do you know her password? I watched her type it once. The screen lit up. Monica opened the email folder. Vendor contracts. Patricia had switched to cheaper suppliers for everything. She'd kept charging Harrison for premium ingredients. Pocketed the difference, the French toast recipe. Changed from challah and real butter to white bread and margarine. Difference, $340 per month into Patricia's pocket. Monica clicked another folder. A spreadsheet appeared. Employee names, phone numbers, home addresses, social security numbers, column header, referral fee. Patricia had been selling employee information to predatory payday loan companies. $50 per referral. Harrison's phone alarm buzzed. 12:14 "We need to go," Monica said. Harrison took one last photo. Then everything was closed, everything. Put the time cards back exactly as he'd found them. Shut down the computer. Locked the drawer. They walked back through the dark kitchen, out the emergency exit. Monica pulled the brick, let the door close. "What are you going to do?" she asked. Harrison looked at his phone. "In the photos. On the evidence of 18 months of systematic theft and terror. Tomorrow morning," he said quietly. 7 a.m., I'm walking in that front door. No disguise, no hiding. And I'm calling a staff meeting." Monica's eyes went wide. "You're going to confront her? In front of everyone?" She humiliated them in public. She threatened them in public. Harrison's voice was steel. "So yeah, in front of everyone. She's going to answer for every single thing she's done. She'll deny it." Harrison held up his phone. "I have proof. Every time card, every ledger entry, every forged document, her own handwriting." Monica smiled for the first time in months. "I'll be there." "Good, because after tomorrow, things are going to change." Harrison got in his car. In 7 hours, Patricia Vance was going to learn what happened when you betrayed the person who saved you. And this time, there would be witnesses. Harrison Turner walked into New Dawn Diner at 7:15 a.m. the next morning. No baseball cap, no sunglasses, no disguise. Just a suit, a tie, and a phone full of evidence. The morning rush was in full swing. The bell chimed. Conversations died. Forks froze. Shanice was refilling coffee at table 3. She looked up. Saw him. The pot slipped from her hands and shattered on the floor. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'll clean it up." "Leave it, Shanice," Harrison said gently. "It's okay." From the kitchen, Daniel's face appeared in the window. His eyes went wide. Monica stood at the dish station. She met Harrison's gaze and nodded. Patricia emerged from her office, holding her clipboard. Navy blazer, hair pulled back tight. Her smile was bright. Practiced. "Mr. Turner, what a wonderful surprise. I didn't know you were back." "Patricia," Harrison's voice cut through the room. "I need you to gather everyone. All staff. Right now. We're having a meeting." Patricia's smile faltered. "Of course. Is everything okay?" "Everyone. Now." Something in his tone made her stop talking. She turned to the kitchen. "Daniel, Monica, front of house. Everyone out here." The staff emerged slowly. Daniel wiping his hands, Monica drying hers. 2 other servers, a prep cook, the dishwasher. They lined up near the counter. Customers watched. Nobody left. Harrison stood in the center of the dining room. "My name is Harrison Turner. I own this diner." He looked at Shanice. 2 days ago, I sat in that corner booth, ordered toast, watched, listened, and what I saw broke my heart." He pulled out his phone. "Shanice Brooks. Come here, please." Shanice approached, hands shaking. "I'm going to ask you a question in front of everyone. You're not in trouble. You're safe. Do you understand?" She nodded, tears forming. "How many hours did you work last week?" Her voice barely a whisper. 68, sir. How many did you get paid for?" 40. Harrison turned to the room. "Let that sink in." "Daniel, same question. How many hours did you work?" Daniel's jaw clenched. 52, sir. Paid for? 40. "Monica." Monica stepped forward. 54 hours worked. 40 paid. Harrison looked at Patricia. She was still holding her clipboard, knuckles white. "According to the official payroll records you submit to me, everyone works exactly 40 hours. No overtime." He held up his phone. "But last night I found something in your office. 2 sets of time cards. One labeled payroll, one labeled actual. Want to explain why there are 2 different records?" Patricia's mouth opened, closed. "Mr. Turner, I can explain. There's been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding." Harrison's voice was ice. "Is that what we're calling theft?" He swiped to another photo. "Hold it up. This is your handwriting, your ledger. Let me read an entry." He looked at Shanice. "Shanice Brooks, 68 hours worked, 40 paid. Profit, $420. Leverage, bench warrant, caseworker monitoring custody. The room went dead silent. Shanice made a small sound, like something breaking. Harrison continued. You documented everything, every stolen dollar, every threat. Monica's undocumented sister, Daniel's parole officer. You wrote it all down. Patricia's face lost all color. You went through my desk. You had no right. I own the building. I own the desk. Harrison's voice was steel. $300,000. That's how much you stole from 14 people over 18 months. People who came here because they needed a second chance. His voice cracked. He looked at Shanice, at Monica, at Daniel. I'm sorry. I should have been here. I failed you. Then he turned back to Patricia. You're fired. Effective immediately. I want you out in 5 minutes. Patricia's mask shattered. You can't do this. I have rights. I'll sue for wrongful termination. Harrison held up his phone. I have 18 months of documented theft. Forged records. Proof you sold employee information to payday loan companies. He paused. And a draft sexual harassment complaint, dated 2 weeks ago. Forged Shanice's signature, planning to frame me if I found out. Patricia's face went gray. Walk out now, or I call the police and you walk out in handcuffs. Your decision. Patricia didn't move. Then she set down her clipboard, took off her blazer, laid it on the counter. You self-righteous hypocrite, she hissed. You abandoned this place. I kept it running while you played hero across the world. You kept it running by enslaving people I hired to protect. Get out. Patricia looked around the room. At the employees she'd terrorized, at the customers watching. Nobody met her eyes. She walked toward the door. At the threshold, she turned back. You gave me a second chance and look what happened. Your program is a joke. People like us, we don't change. Harrison's voice was steel. You're wrong. People can change. You just chose not to. Patricia left. The bell chimed as the door closed. Nobody moved. Then Shanice started crying. Deep, shaking sobs. Monica wrapped her arms around her. Daniel stood there, hands in fists, breathing hard. Harrison looked at all of them. I'm sorry, but starting right now, things change. All of it. A customer at table 6 stood up. She pulled out a business card. Walked over to Shanice. I'm a labor attorney. I heard everything. If you want to file charges, I'll represent you. Pro bono. Shanice took the card with shaking hands. Harrison looked at his employees. We're going to make this right. Every stolen dollar, every hour, everything. I promise you that. Monica stepped forward. What happens now? Harrison took a breath. Now, we rebuilt. Together, the right way. 3 hours later, Harrison sat in his office with Shanice, Monica, and Daniel. The diner was still open. Customers are still eating. But everything felt different now. Lighter. Harrison had a notebook open, a pen in his hand. And a promise to keep. First things first, he said. The money. Every dollar Patricia stole gets paid back. With interest. He slid 3 envelopes across the desk. Shanice opened hers, stared at the check inside. $6,340. Her hands started shaking. This is, I can pay rent, catch up on everything. My kids. She broke down crying. But this time, the tears were different. Monica opened hers. $4,820. She pressed it against her chest. Daniel opened his. $3,960. He just stared at it. That's every hour Patricia stole from you over 18 months, Harrison said, plus 15% interest. It doesn't fix what she did, but it's a start. How did you calculate it so fast? Daniel asked. I didn't sleep, went through every time card, did the math, called my accountant at 5 a.m. Harrison leaned back. Everyone who worked here during Patricia's time gets a check. 14 people, $98,900. What about the rest? Monica asked. You said over 300,000. Tips, vendor kickbacks, payday loan referrals. Harrison's jaw tightened. Harder to trace. But I'm hiring a forensic accountant. Whatever we recover goes back to you. Shanice wiped her eyes. Why are you doing this? Because it's right, and because I should have been here. He opened his notebook. Paying you back isn't enough. We need to make sure this never happens again, which means we change how this place runs. He looked at them. I'm restructuring New Dawn as a worker cooperative. Anyone here longer than a year becomes part owner. You'll own equity, share in profits, have real power. They stared at him. We'd own part of this? Shanice asked. You built this place while I was gone, now you'll benefit. Harrison pulled out a document. I keep 51%. You and other employees split 49% by tenure and hours. Every quarter, 40% of profits are split among employee owners. Daniel leaned forward. What if we make bad decisions? Then we'll screw up together and fix it together. Harrison flipped pages. Second, Employee Council. 5 elected members. Veto power over major decisions. Hiring, firing managers, policy changes, vendor contracts. I can't fire anyone without council approval. Council can override me with majority vote. You're giving us power to vote against you? Monica asked. I'm giving you power to protect yourselves. He made a note. Third, transparent systems. Everything is digital. Cloud-based time tracking everyone can access. Scheduling posted 2 weeks ahead. No more manual cards Patricia can manipulate. Payroll auto-calculates overtime. No overrides without council approval. Shanice was taking notes now. Fourth, I'm not traveling anymore. No speaking tours, no conferences. I'm here. 30 hours minimum per week on the floor. What about business management? Daniel asked. I'm hiring a COO for the business side, but you'll help with the interview. Council has to approve whoever I hire. Harrison met their eyes. I'm done being absent. He turned pages. Fifth, the Second Chance program. We're keeping it, but rewriting it with your input. Anonymous complaint hotline, third party. Mandatory management training. Trauma-informed supervision. And a rule, Monica said. Make it illegal to use someone's past against them. What Patricia did, threatening immigration status, parole officers, caseworkers, automatic termination. Harrison wrote it down. Vulnerability shield policy. Using an employee's legal status, criminal record, or personal situation as leverage means immediate termination. What else? They spent 2 hours building it. Peer mentorship. Shanice volunteered to mentor the next single mom hired. Fair scheduling. No close open shifts without consent and premium pay. Profit-sharing transparency. Everyone sees numbers. When done, Harrison looked at the list. One more thing. The recipe. He pulled out his mother's recipe card. Patricia changed my mother's French toast recipe to save money. Cheaper bread. Margarine instead of butter. No cinnamon. His voice was thick. We're going back to the original. Don't care if it costs more. We'll raise the price. But we're not compromising. He laid the card on the desk. My mama said, feed people with dignity. That's not just words. That's how we cook, how we treat employees, how we run this place. Shanice reached out and touched the card gently. We'll honor it, she said. I promise. Harrison nodded. Couldn't speak for a moment. Okay. He cleared his throat. Employee council elections happen next week. I'm nominating you 3, but everyone votes. Monica smiled. What if we don't get elected? Then I'll trust whoever does. They stood up, started to leave. At the door, Shanice turned back. Mr. Turner, thank you for coming back, for seeing us. Harrison shook his head. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when this works. When you feel safe. When you can feed your kids without choosing between rent and food. I already feel different, she said quietly. For the first time in 18 months, I'm not scared. After they left, Harrison sat alone. His phone buzzed. Text from Zara. Dad, someone posted a video of this morning. You're trending. People are calling you a hero. Harrison looked at his mother's recipe card on the desk. He wasn't a hero. He was just a man who'd failed people, learned from it, and was trying to do better. That would have to be enough. Let me count more carefully and create a tighter version. 6 weeks later, Shanice Brooks walked into New Dawn Diner at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. Not for work. She was bringing her daughters for breakfast. Amara and Destiny bounced through the door ahead of her. Mommy, can we sit in a booth? Amara asked. Any booth you want, baby. They chose the corner booth, the one where Harrison had sat 6 weeks ago. Monica saw them, smiled, walked over with coloring pages and crayons. Good morning, ladies. What can I get you? French toast, Destiny shouted. Please, Shanice corrected. French toast, please, Destiny amended. Monica wrote it down. The real recipe. Coming right up. She headed to the kitchen, called the order to Daniel. Harrison was already there, working the grill alongside Daniel. 32 hours this week. Shanice's girls? Daniel asked. Yeah, first time since everything. Harrison cracked eggs, started whisking. Then we make it perfect. Daniel prepped the challah bread thick cut. Harrison mixed eggs, vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, real butter melted in the pan. The smell filled the kitchen. That smell was missing for 18 months. You know what's different now? Daniel said. What? I don't dread coming here anymore. Used to wake up with my stomach in knots. Now I look forward to it. Harrison nodded, couldn't speak. The French toast came out golden brown. Harrison plated it. Powdered sugar, fresh strawberries, real maple syrup. Can I take it out? He asked. Daniel smiled. It's your diner. No, it's ours. Harrison carried the plates to the corner booth. French toast for two beautiful young ladies. Amara looked up. You're Mr. Turner. Mommy talks about you. Does she? She says you're the reason she smiles now. Harrison cleared his throat. Your mom's the reason this place is still standing. He looked at Shanice. She had tears in her eyes. Thank you, she mouthed. At the counter, Monica was counting tips from yesterday. The new system, transparent, digital, fair, no skimming. Her sister Rosa sat there, eating breakfast before her shift. She worked here now, 3 days a week, documented, safe. The council had voted to create a legal fund, pooled resources for Rosa and 2 other employees. Hired a lawyer, did it right. Monica caught Harrison's eye, smiled. At table 6, a new hire took her first solo order. Keisha, 26, single mom. Shanice had mentored her. You're safe here, I promise. Now Keisha's hands weren't shaking. Progress. The morning rush built. Orders flew. The kitchen hummed. At 10 a.m., Harrison's phone buzzed. Reminder, employee council meeting at 11 a.m. Elections happened 3 weeks ago. Shanice, Monica, Daniel won seats. 2 other longtime employees rounded out the council. Today's agenda, COO applications. Council would interview the final 3 candidates next week. Harrison got 1 vote, same as everyone else. Democracy. At 10:30, Harrison untied his apron. I'm out. Council meeting at 30. We got this, Daniel said. Harrison stopped at the corner booth. Amara and Destiny had demolished their French toast. Powdered sugar covered their faces. How was it? Best ever, Destiny said. Amara nodded. It tastes like Grandma's pancakes, before she went to heaven. Shanice's eyes filled with tears. My mom used to make French toast every Saturday. I haven't been able to afford to take them out in. What a long time. Well, Harrison said, you've got an ownership stake in this place now. You can bring them as often as you want. Shanice laughed through tears. Family discount for the owners? Exactly. At 11 a.m., the council gathered in the office that used to be Patricia's. They'd repainted it. Put up a new sign. Employee council room. 5 people sat around the table. Okay, Shanice said, opening her notebook. She was council chair. First order, COO applications. 3 finalists. Harrison, you want to present? Harrison presented. The council asked questions, debated, voted. Harrison's first choice? Voted down. 4-2. The council's choice? Someone Harrison had ranked 3rd. All in favor? Shanice asked. 5 hands went up, including Harrison's. Motion carries. We'll schedule interviews next week. After the meeting, Harrison walked back to the kitchen. Through the window, he could see Shanice and her daughters leaving. Amara skipped. Destiny held her mother's hand. Shanice was smiling. Harrison looked at his mother's recipe card. Framed now. Hanging on the wall by the grill. Feed people with dignity. Finally, after 18 months of failure, he was keeping that promise. Not alone. Together. The way it should have been from the start. 1 year later, Harrison Turner stood at the grill on a Tuesday morning, making French toast for the breakfast rush. Beside him, Daniel Baker, now executive chef and part owner, was training a new line cook. Thick challah, real butter, cinnamon. See how it smells? That's dignity. The new cook nodded, taking notes. At the counter, Shanice Brooks, now assistant general manager and council chair, was going over quarterly profit-sharing numbers with Monica Rodriguez, who'd just been promoted to floor manager. 40% of profits are split among employee owners, Shanice said. $1,800 per person this quarter. Monica smiled. Rosa's going to cry. She's been saving for citizenship fees. In the corner booth, a reporter from the Detroit Free Press was interviewing Harrison about worker cooperatives. So a year after exposing your manager's wage theft, the reporter said, what's changed? Harrison looked around the diner. Employee retention, 96%. Revenue, up 43%. Complaints, 0. Everything, Harrison said. We stopped treating employees like expenses and started treating them like partners. When people feel valued, they build something worth valuing. The reporter scribbled notes. And Patricia Vance? Facing charges. Wage theft, fraud, identity theft. Any regrets? Harrison thought about that. I regret not being here, not seeing it sooner. Not protecting people I promised to protect. He paused. But I'm grateful for the second chance to make it right. After the interview, Harrison walked through the dining room. I watched Shanice laugh with customers. I watched Daniel teach with patience. Watched Monica count tips fairly. His phone buzzed. Text from Zara. Proud of you, Dad. See you for dinner tonight? Wouldn't miss it. Harrison pulled out his mother's recipe card. Looked at her handwriting one more time. Feed people with dignity. He'd failed that promise once. He wouldn't fail it again. Shanice stayed silent for 18 months. Monica was terrified for 14. Daniel swallowed his questions for 2 years. They all thought no one would believe them, that speaking up would cost them everything. But someone was finally paying attention. If you've ever felt invisible at work, if you've ever been told to stay quiet when everything inside you wanted to scream, leave a comment below. Because thousands of people watching this have been exactly where you are. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Because stories like Shanice's only change things when people like you refuse to let them stay hidden. Change doesn't happen when we stay silent. It happens when we find the courage to speak.